And in order for you to raise your hand, be vocal, advocate for yourself, all those things that we know are necessary to move up, you need to establish credibility first. And establishing credibility is about doing the hard work, about anticipating needs, about getting any task, regardless of how annoying it is, done very, very well. And then you earn the right to raise your hand, to ask for more.
Your incredibility.
Whether it's a promotion or more money or whatever it is, that opportunity.
Today's guest is my good friend Debby Soo, CEO of OpenTable, and one of the few Asian American women leading a major global tech company. Debby's journey started in a 2-bedroom apartment in San Francisco, living with her parents, grandparents, and aunt and uncle. She navigated the expectations of her parents while carving her own path through Stanford, investment banking at Citi in Hong Kong, building Google Maps, getting her MBA at MIT, and leadership roles building KAYAK in Asia. Now, as the head of OpenTable, she's helping shape the future of how we discover and experience restaurants, something deeply tied to culture, community, and identity. In this episode, we get into how she manifested her career path to CEO, her learnings along the journey, and what it really means to create a space at the table, literally and figuratively, as she has built a C-suite with multiple Asian American executives. Without further ado, here's my raw and real conversation with Debby Soo. Happy to have you here, Debby. Debby Soo is the CEO of OpenTable and a good friend, and just really thankful that you taking this time out of your busy schedule as the CEO to chat with me on this podcast.
Of course. I'm very happy and excited to be here, and anything for you, Dave.
You have to say that on the podcast. But Debby has been fighting a cold and all sorts of stuff, so I'm just thankful that if she coughs or whatnot, I'm just thankful that she's here, cough aside, and that we can glean her wisdom for all the folks out there. So I was telling Debby that I'm trying to put this podcast together for the next generation of founders, leaders, executives in Asian America that are looking for inspiration and guidance and mentorship that we don't often get. I think a lot of places we work at, we don't find mentorship. We don't ask for mentorship. We don't ask for help. And this is my way of trying to, give back to the community and scale the lessons that we've learned for other folks out there. I remember one of the times I saw Debby was last year when she spoke to the Stanford Business School Asian students and alumni. Even though she went to Sloan, she was kind enough to speak to our community. And this year I spoke as well, but Debby is given back in many ways, speaking to different audiences and inspiring people with her time, even though she has 2 boys. And as I know, that is a handful, and that means you're exhausted constantly or sick constantly. Debby, you can speak to that as well. But I wanted to start off, Deb, by talking about your growing up in San Francisco. So your parents, tell me about, your parents immigrated from Taiwan. Tell me about kind of that, what that experience was like growing up in San Francisco as a child of immigrants.
Sure. So I was born in Daly City. It's now called Seton Medical Center. You see it on the 280. Before I was born, my parents had immigrated very recently to the U.S. We lived in apartment buildings called Park Merced.
Oh, yeah.
Right, kind of on the south. Yeah, that's right.
Town,
And that's right. It was a 2-bedroom apartment, and there's myself, my parents, and then my grandparents, and my uncle, and my aunt. So it was a very full house. Up until the age of 3 or 4, my grandmother is the one that stayed with me during the days because everyone else was working. So we go to Chinatown and take the bus from Park Merced and then go to Chinatown.
Was there an M there, or was it still bus back then?
I think it was a bus.
Oh, it wasn't the Muni?
It was like it might have been the Muni.
Yeah.
But we went every day.
Wow.
And so I remember like the Mahjong Hall and picking up the duck that my grandfather, the roasted duck my grandfather really liked to eat. And I never felt like we were poor, when you're a kid. Yeah. But like looking back now, it was certainly tight quarters.
Yeah.
And money was tight. My parents were really struggling to find work. So my mom kept getting fired from different administrative secretarial jobs. And my dad was going to night school to learn English. So our story is not so much like, oh, my parents came to the US for grad
Mm,
school. We won a lottery to immigrate to the US from Taiwan.
mm,
Um, and we came with really not much of a plan, uh, not very much money. And so those beginning years were all about making ends meet. My father um, did not go to college. He grew up really, really poor in Taiwan. And he was pretty much on his own for much of his childhood and kind of getting um, sent back and forth from various like relatives'
mm,
houses. His father passed away when he was really
mm.
young. Um, and so finding work for him in the US was really challenging. And he saw an ad one day in the Chinese newspaper, Sijie, which
Mm.
is the World Journal, that they were looking for like tour guides. Remember back in the
Yeah,
80s, all these groups of Asian tourists
yeah.
would come. And so he auditioned to be a tour guide.
Wow.
And out of 50 people, applicants, he ended up getting the job. And so that's how he was making his money, like taking large tour groups around the US in a bus.
Not even
And
just
that's
around
how we were paying the
Island
bill.
of California, around the U.S. So he wasn't
Mhm.
home very
Yeah,
much then.
he was not home very much. And that's throughout my entire childhood.
Wow.
And I think probably 2 years into that, he decided that, there was something here. So he and my mom started a travel agency that specialized in bringing Taiwanese tourists to the US.
Wow.
And so my dad ran the Taiwan operations, sourcing business, etc.
So he
And my
was living
mom
in
ran
Taiwan.
the
He
US
moved to
operation.
Taiwan.
Yeah.
Wow.
So basically, I would say he was in Taiwan at least 7 or 8 months out of the year
Wow.
throughout my entire childhood.
Wow. So were you close to your dad then if he was gone that much?
I was. So like what he lacked in time, he certainly made up in force. My dad is a very big
Mm,
personality and he's very strict. He had very high expectations of me. I'm the only child. Um, and I think for him, he understandably so has this huge chip on his shoulder, right? He was poor, he was uneducated. Um, and for him, I was his trump card,
yep.
right? So I had to do all the things that he was not able
Yeah.
to, right? And that he sacrificed so that I could.
Yeah. You were
So
fulfilling
that was
his
always,
dreams. You were like, yeah,
yes,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
right. That's right. And I don't actually know like where his dream ends and where mine
Mm,
begin, because it's so deeply rooted
yeah.
in
Yeah.
me. But yeah, so like there was always a very, constant emphasis put on
Mm,
education. We talked about money a lot because they ran the business
mm,
together. I saw how hard they worked firsthand. And I was alone a lot of my
mm.
childhood. So like we were in that apartment for 3 years and then they ended up getting a condo in a suburb to the
Where
south
was your grandma though? Wasn't
of
she
the
home with you?
city.
Well, she moved back.
She was home, but then like, I had to go to school,
Yeah.
right? So I couldn't just like stay. So after three, we moved to Foster City,
Oh, okay.
right? And so yeah, it was my mom and me a lot. Um, and she was working around the clock. So I spent a lot of time at their
Yeah.
office. When I got older, at the public library. So it was an upbringing where I had to grow up
Latchkey,
really
latchkey
fast.
kid.
My mom was sick a lot when I was growing up. Like she had a brain aneurysm, she had various tumors. So, right, when you have a
Wow.
sick parent, she's fine.
Wow.
When you have a sick parent in like a foreign
Yeah.
country
And
as
your dad
well, so
wasn't
like
there
I
either.
am, and my dad wasn't there. So there was
You
a
grew up
lot of
quick.
like, I'm the
Yeah.
translator. I'm like the
Yeah.
advocate to make, I'm asking the questions and so yeah, my upbringing, it was great. I'm not
You were,
complaining,
yeah.
but I think it was like a unique set of situations that essentially made me who I am today.
So you were like a CEO as a kid, basically, because you were like managing all these different things and dealing with people. And, I mean, it's interesting because I feel like I was going to say a lot of us are very accustomed to feeling like we are fulfilling our parents' dreams because they came here with, they came here for grad school, many of them, and then they got stuck in these jobs that they didn't want to do, and it was
Mm,
sacrificing everything for us. But I almost feel like it's even more so for probably for your dad because he came here amidst all the other Taiwanese that were coming, immigrating, that were coming on for graduate school and coming to get,
mhm.
professional white collar jobs in, you know, banks and software engineering firms. And so his peer group and even the people I imagine that were traveling here as tourists that he talked to and were of that kind of ilk. And um, yeah, I mean, if I know Taiwanese men, there was a sense of pride that he's like, I still want to prove, I have a lot to prove. And he put
Yeah.
that into you. It's like, oh, my daughter's going to go to the best schools and she's going to make, I'm going to brag about her someday.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he certainly he also had the chip for
Mhm.
himself. Yeah, it definitely extended to me as well, to the point where like, yeah, I don't really know where he begins
Mm,
and where he ends and I begin. You were asking like before we started recording, like what would you do if if you weren't doing what you're
mm,
doing, and if and your parents didn't have like any expectations, or I don't know. I mean, I think I'm very happy doing what I'm doing. I love what I do. And yeah, again, I
hmm.
can't differentiate
Are you saying that because that's what
if
your
it's
dad
like
would
I
say?
love, yeah, I'm trying to think, but like I don't know. I mean, to get to I guess where I am today, I don't know if you can just get there because someone else wants you
Sure,
to, even a larger than life personality like
sure.
my dad. So at some point or somewhere, it has to be
Yeah.
my desire as
Hmm.
well. But yeah, our story is a little unique in terms of like, some of the more typical immigrant stories, especially from
Yeah.
Taiwan. Like we were blue collar, my aunt was, a delivery girl at a Chinese restaurant when like, and they worked their way kind of up that
Oh, so you got an
ladder
extended family here.
through that America.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So my mom's sister and brother, we were all living in
oh,
that
wow.
apartment, but they're also here.
Okay, wow. So that was a crowded. And do you have cousins that from?
I have two cousins, and they grew up in
Okay,
Saratoga. Um, yeah, it's two
okay.
cousins.
And so it's funny because you grew up in that situation, and then you go to Lick Wilmerding, which is a private school, fancy. What was it like going there from blue collar, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. Like after we left the apartment in Park Masad, we moved to Foster City, and then we moved again in Foster City to a house. And then in middle school, we moved to
Mm,
Hillsborough. My parents did
well, yeah,
quite well in
yeah.
their business endeavors. And when we moved to Hillsborough, my mom insisted that like I wasn't being challenged in public school. So she had me test for the school called
Mm,
Nueva, which is in Hillsborough.
mm.
It's a private school.
Where many of our friends'
And
kids go.
apparently like
But yes,
yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, there's like an IQ
no
threshold and
grades
all
or
that
something.
stuff.
Is there no grades? I think.
That's right. And miraculously, I
Yeah.
got in. My mom was so surprised, she like called them to make sure it wasn't a
But
mistake.
then she found out there's no grades,
Yeah,
and she's like, "Oh hell no, we're not doing this." We're not sending her to
exactly. Yeah, so I actually went to New England for 3 years. And then once you're kind of like on that independent
Yeah.
school
Track.
track, right, then it makes sense that high school is
Yeah.
also private. And so yes, I went to Lick. But the biggest transition I would say would be from like Foster City Elementary School to
Yeah.
Nueva.
Oh yeah.
Because when I got to Nueva, there's a lot of really affluent kids
Yes, there are.
who go to
Yes.
Nueva, even back
Yeah.
in the day. And I just remember when I visited, like the kids talked
Mm.
differently, and what they talked about
Mm-hmm.
was different. There was a US presidential election going on at the time. This is when I was like in fifth grade. And people were, they're doing mock
Mm-hmm.
debates and talking about being a Republican or a Democrat. And like it was so like the whole thing was so
Hmm.
foreign to me. So I would say like that culture shock of whether it be from blue collar to, higher echelons of society or from a less educated background to, one that is very well educated to a very progressive
Hmm.
and liberal place, all of those transitions and what like happened to me in sixth
Mm.
grade. And I would say I learned how to speak the language of
Hmm.
the room.
Hmm.
And I think that's a skill that has continued to serve me
Yeah.
well in my
Yeah.
career,
I think
especially.
it's important. I think to point out is like I think a lot of Asian Americans don't know how to fit in those rooms, and they don't say anything when they feel uncomfortable or out of place. It's something that I talk about a lot. It's like how when you're in the room, how do you make yourself known, or how do you be comfortable in your own skin in those places versus just being a fly on the wall. And when you are, then no one sees you and you get no recognition, and it's like you're not even there. So, what's the like, how can you expect anyone to recognize you or acknowledge you or give you a promotion when you just are
Hmm.
uncomfortable in those places? And so, I mean, what was it? How did you adapt? Like, how did you adapt in that world where you had transitioned so many times, like a chameleon into all these different environments?
It was really hard. I think those first few years at New Ava were probably academically the most challenging I've had in my
Mm.
entire life. So I'm including
Yeah.
Stanford undergrad,
Yeah.
Sloan, all of it, high school at Lick. But the thing that I really appreciated about Nueva and being in that peer set was the common denominator there is that everyone's
Mhm.
pretty smart, right? Which isn't always necessarily the case if you're going to a
Mm.
public school. And so,
Well, let's be honest. At a lot of private schools, it's not always the case either necessarily. But at
yeah,
Nueva,
that's
it's been
true.
testing
That's
it.
true.
So yeah.
But anyway, so even though there were a lot of ways in which I did not belong there, there were some ways in which I
Mm.
really belonged there because, like, it was a very nerdy place. And so, like, all of a sudden I go and I'm like, wow, I'm actually cool
You're
compared
a
to,
city kid.
right? Yeah. And the school had certain, we in sixth, seventh grade, and eighth grade, you essentially read
Mm.
all of his plays, right? And the school takes you to Ashland, Oregon to go see the Shakespeare Festival. We go to Japan in eighth grade. So there was just uh, so much that was eye-opening, but in a really cool way. Some in a, oh my God, like I don't know how to
Yeah.
behave way, but others like, wow, like, going to Japan
It
for
opens your
three
worldview as
weeks
a kid.
with your
Yeah.
graduating class, yeah, is insane. And so I don't think like I quite realized the privilege that I was in at Nueva with my peer set until like an adult
Yeah.
when I look back. Oh, so and so's dad, headed up this
Oh
investment
yeah.
bank.
This, that, or other. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, when I was in seventh grade, I didn't know what an investment bank
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
was, right? I just knew that like, my friends
Yeah.
were very wealthy. And, it was a world that I had to learn how to
Oh, when you went
behave
over to the
in
houses and stuff,
and
and
belong in.
yeah, birthday
Yeah,
parties and yeah,
yeah.
bar
Or
mitzvahs.
bar
Yeah,
mitzvahs.
those were like when I went for my first bar mitzvah, I was like, whoa, this is like a wedding. This is like really fancy. There's like giving out free stuff and free food, and they're drawing pictures
Yeah,
of
yeah,
you,
yeah.
and there's a band, and what is this
Yeah,
world?
that's
I
right.
was like,
That's right.
I don't know any
Yeah,
Chinese kid
yeah.
having parties like this, that's for sure. But it's
Hmm.
interesting because you made that realization early on. I went to public school, and I didn't think even in college, I didn't make the realization until business school at Stanford that like certain kids had so much more coming in than I did that
Yes.
I always thought, oh, it's all up to me, but then I realized, wait, I'm I we I started on first base and these kids started on third base, and there's a big difference. Like I don't I don't want to take away from any their achievement stuff, but it's a lot easier when you start on third base to do well. And so I think many of us are always chip on the shoulder, like, oh man, I gotta make it. It's not that easy to make it from first to even second base. Like your dad did great, and a
Hmm.
lot of people are able to make it, but there's so much more you have to climb if you have nothing. But I think we often like beat ourselves up because we're like, oh, why don't I have more? Why aren't I at this place? It's like, well, you weren't at that place because your dad didn't get you the job that got you the other job, or they didn't give you the introduction to connect you
Hmm.
to give you that promotion and tell you. So when you don't have that access, it's really, really hard.
Yeah, when you don't have the access or when you don't
Yeah, how to
know
play
the
the game. Yep.
rules of engagement,
Yeah.
you're like feeling your way
Stumbling
through
along
and
the
you're
way.
trying to,
Yeah.
right? Like, yeah, like how
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
apply to
Exactly. Or
college,
what colleges to even
right?
go
How to
to.
package yourself up, how to
Yeah.
market yourself,
Yeah.
all those
Yeah.
things, right? Is like, I mean, I was very lucky to go to a school like Lick, but my
Oh yeah.
parents were very
You
clueless,
had to be
right?
the one
Like
telling
they
them.
could
Yeah.
throw resources at it. Yeah, and they just
Yeah.
said,
I'll pay for
just
prisoner
go
review.
get
Just yeah,
into
figure out what
get
yeah,
in
it's like,
somewhere
I'll
really
pay for
good.
what you need, but it's literally
That's
like
right.
you have to learn
Yes,
from your
that's
friends
right.
like,
Yeah,
oh, where should I apply to school? Like, oh, okay, I'll go figure it out. Or oh, I need to take
yes,
the PSAT in sixth grade. Okay,
yeah,
I'll tell my parents I need to go do that. Like things like that. Like what is CTY? Like what is
that's
what?
right.
But yeah, it was like kind of the blind leading the blind, us trying to figure out how to get in. But I mean, my parents didn't even know any other schools than like Harvard, and we lived next to Princeton, so it was like Harvard, Princeton, and like MIT and maybe Stanford. So when I got into Penn, they're like, "What is this school?" And we're not paying for this. I was like, this is so annoying." Like I didn't get into Harvard, so I gotta go to Penn. And they're like, this. And then I told them it's Ivy League. They're like, oh, okay, that's okay, I guess. I'm like, oh man. But it was like, man, they didn't have a clue. They didn't know what was what was good or not.
Yeah,
It only
yeah.
mattered that their friends like knew about it, and it's like, oh yeah, they know.
New.
They heard that
Yeah,
Warren's pretty
yeah,
good, so I guess you're
yeah.
okay. I'm like, geez, this is so annoying. But yeah, but it's I mean, again, they did sacrifice everything. Not they didn't know what they were doing. They were just like, okay, I just want to make sure you get a good job and you make money and you're secure. So you graduate from Lick and you stay in the Bay Area. You could have probably gone East Coast.
Well, I didn't get into Harvard either,
Oh, so
so
you had to settle for Stanford. being being
right.
a Asian kid in the Bay Area getting into Stanford is I don't know if it was probably much harder now, but it was probably not that easy back then.
I'm sure it was not easy. I got very lucky. I remember, I remember I remember the day I got into Stanford when I found out, right? It was like April
Mhm.
1st, and back in the day,
Yeah,
it was not
the
online.
mail. Yeah,
You get the envelopes. So I was driving home from school and I wouldn't let my mom go out to the mailbox. So like I parked the car, I went to the mailbox,
thick or thin, thick or thin.
and then
Oh,
there was a
yeah.
I know, there was a big red
Was it red? It
big,
was actually
red
red.
envelope.
Oh
Yeah, it was
gosh.
red.
So you
It
knew
was
once you got
actually
it.
red. And yeah, and my dad was in Taiwan. We called him, uh, and all three
Oh
of
yeah.
us were crying because it was just, like I think I'm like reasonably smart, but I'm certainly not the smartest person in the room most of the time. Especially going to like Nueva or Lick, right? You're like in a peer group that's like very, very smart. And they're much more academically
Sure.
more gifted
Sure.
people than I was or I am. And I wasn't a good test taker.
That's the killer for Asians. It's like, oh
Um,
no.
so to get into
Yeah.
Stanford with all of that, uh, it was like nothing short of a
But
miracle,
I have to imagine the
I felt.
pressure from everything your parents did to sacrifice from Park Merced and moving to Foster City and sending to Nueva and then paying for liquid loading. And like this like they didn't pay for schools. This was supposed to be back in Taiwan. It's like free school everywhere. And you're like, oh, we're
I
paying for the
know.
schools to get you. And it's like the pressure of being the only child, the chosen one, and opening that mailbox and seeing the red. There's like you probably didn't even have to pull it out. You didn't probably pull it out. Once you opened the mailbox, you were crying. Wow. Did
Yeah,
you open it by yourself, or did your mom go with you
yeah.
to the mailbox?
No, she was too scared, so she's by the front
Wow.
door. I had to go.
Wow.
She was too scared.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'll say this, like, as I've gotten older, I realize like the smartest person in the room isn't necessarily the most important or most successful or anything, right? It's like all the skills you learned along the way through that experience made you much more able to hold your own in those rooms where people see you and recognize you, and you know you can do quantum physics in the room, but that's not going to get you where you need to go. And so in every room, it matters the gifts that you have. But I mean, did you feel like once you got to Stanford? I mean, it's maybe similar to the Lick kids, but I mean, was it harder, easier, or were you like, oh no, this is
Well, I
mm,
found Stanford to be hard. I mean, because, once I, like, my goal was just to get in somewhere really good, right? And like from
yeah, that's
eighth
all you have.
grade
Yeah.
on, that was like what we were working towards, right? That's all we get.
What
I
happens when you
didn't,
get
I
there?
didn't think about like,
Yeah.
what do you do after you get there? And I remember the freshman year going in, and people were like, they had a list of activities they wanted to do. The ones who wanted to go into finance had done a summer internship
Yeah,
as an
already.
admin at like PwC or like, the
And
private wealth
why
management at Morgan
again? Because their
Stanley. And,
parents meant to
like,
could hook up.
I mean, it was just, I didn't even, right?
To
Like, I
know
had
the rules of engagement.
no
We don't know the rules of
idea. I
engagement.
thought I got in, I was like sitting pretty, and then I get to
Yeah,
Stanford and I'm like, shit,
yeah,
I'm already behind. And I don't know what I want to do.
yeah.
Like, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And so the 4 years at Stanford were like mustering through, figuring it out. Like, what was it that I was, first of
Yeah.
all, qualified to do? What did I like to do? What could I get?
For
Like, yeah,
internships, they didn't tell you what to do. Like, were you doing?
yeah, but like I didn't know. So like I realized like, okay, I wanted to go in business because I didn't want to be a
So
lawyer.
it's consulting
I
and
didn't want to be
banking,
an engineer.
basically.
I didn't want to be a doctor. So like at the
Yeah.
end, it's just banking or consulting. I was like, oh, those consulting interviews sound really hard. So then I was like, okay, banking. I must have I must have gone on 50 or 60 banking
in,
interviews
in your
until
ill-fitting
I
suit that you bought
understood
that you kept wearing to
really.
everything. I remember that.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Oh
But
yeah.
like I didn't know what banks did. So like I basically like learned how to interview with
With
banks
banks.
by
Yeah.
interviewing with banks. And at Stanford, right, like it's competitive. Each bank hires, there's a lot
Yeah.
allotment of
Yeah.
maybe three or four per class. And my junior year,
Oh.
I did not get an internship. I was like,
Oh,
what
you
is
thought that it was
this?
the end of the world because you're
And
like, I
then I
can't
ended
get
up
jobs when
saying,
I graduate if I don't have a junior
it's
internship.
done. So then I applied to get
Oh, you
a
co-graduate. Okay.
master's at Stanford. So I'd have one more chance,
Yeah.
one more summer to
Yeah.
try to get an internship in banking. And the only reason I got that at Deutsche Bank was because that was the
Uh-huh.
summer of SARS in Hong Kong, and they were looking for Mandarin
No way.
speakers for interns, and no
Are you
one wanted to
kidding?
go because it was SARS.
I don't
And I
care
was like,
about that.
I'll
I
go.
get sick all the time. What?
Oh,
Wow.
yeah,
That's really
I'll go. So that's why
holy cow.
I was in Hong Kong. That's the only reason I got that offer. I had no business. I didn't know finance. I didn't know accounting. But
And
yeah,
SARS.
Chinese.
And SARS. Thankfully there was a
And
virus. Sorry, everyone.
I didn't care about SARS, and that's how I ended
Oh
up
my
in banking.
goes. Yeah,
And
then
then once
it
you have
goes the
one,
snowballs, yeah.
right? Then
Yeah.
the stuff.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that's right.
it's
That's right.
crazy though, because I remember at that time, it's the end of the world when you don't get those jobs, so internships, because that was your whole world. You've been groomed to jump through hoops constantly to get into the schools, get into that, get into this and that. And then it's like, okay, I need the internship so I can get my job after I graduate. Otherwise, I'm worthless. And it's like, there are only so many investment banks. And then you start thinking, oh man, I gotta go to second tier banks and now I can't get that. And like, then you're like, oh, my life is over. It's like, what do I do? But I mean,
Yep.
I feel like that wait for kids is not, I mean, everything we were told. Actually, it wasn't even our parents telling us that. It was like, because they didn't know what the heck they're like, they don't know what banking or consulting is. Yeah.
No, they didn't know
But
what
I
a
feel
bank
like
was
that pressure
either.
we put
Yeah.
on ourselves because we saw everyone else, going for these things like, oh, we need this or our life is like ruined. Is It's not healthy for a high college kid who doesn't even know what consulting or banking is. I mean,
That's
there were a
right.
lot of fancy dinners they took us
That's
to.
right.
I remember that, and you go to the, and it's like, you felt like, oh, this is kind of nice, whatever this is. But I remember once I started going doing consulting, I'm like, listen, I don't like this. I mean, I don't know if you probably maybe enjoyed banking, but I didn't like it.
No, I hated
Like
it. Are you
monkeys,
kidding?
Excel monkeys.
And I was not a good banker.
So they were right. The interviewees were
No.
right. You should
I
have.
mean, no, I should not
Yeah.
have. I was not good. Like I mean, that summer at Deutsche in Hong Kong, right? Like I think you've heard the story before. Like my review came back after the first 5 weeks. I was like, she doesn't seem to understand how decimal points work.
You never get
I was a really bad banker.
That's an expensive mistake to make him best decimal
I
points. Yeah.
know. But I ended up getting, even at Deutsche that summer, there were 10 interns. They gave two people full-time offers. And I ended up being one of them.
You didn't know how decimal
Despite,
worked? That's a big leap.
yeah, because because the MDs liked me.
You,
And at the end,
that's all that matters.
yeah, and at the end you give a presentation,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And like they wanted me to do some M&A model. I was like, I don't know how to do that. But like but they it was like they were talking about
But you want to hang out with me?
5G. Yeah, the presentation was about
I'm fun.
5G, and so I was able to go up there
Kill it.
and like talk to a room of,
People. Yeah.
I think it was all white dudes,
Yeah.
even though we were in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And I remember when the news came out, the associate that sat next to me, he wasn't my associate. He didn't know I was there. And he was like, oh, who ended up getting it? He was talking to someone else. And he heard that he's like, what? They got one? Which is like totally fair.
Yeah.
I was definitely the weakest in terms of my modeling, in
Yeah.
terms of, but I worked my ass off. Like I don't make the same mistake twice.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I learned how to talk.
Work the room.
Yeah, to
Yeah.
work the room.
Yeah. I mean, that's an undervalued skill that I don't think we as Asian Americans even realize is way more important than doing decimal points or doing Excel. Because you can get anyone to be an Excel monkey, but if it comes to selling or building relationships or kind of getting trust, like when I gave the talk this year that you gave last year at Stanford, and Jeff Yang was there, and we both, I mean, I talked about how relationships matter more than anything. Your network matters more than anything, more than your resume. Like it doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
nobody can care less about your resume after a certain age. Um, and then I think Jeff said the same thing. He's like, people want to work with people they like and they trust. They don't care about where you went to school or what your grades were, your GPA, this, that. Like, it's like, I want to do business with you because I enjoy your company. I trust you. I think you're smart and you can communicate. But that's not things that you learn in school, like in a textbook. Um,
Yep.
so I think so many of us, because we're so hung up on, I need that internship at Goldman Sachs, or I got to get into McKinsey, or it's the end of my life. Like, that's not what's going to get you there. It's like all the rest of the stuff, the intangibles that you learn.
Yeah.
But there's no school for that. And so many of us don't know how to, like those, again, rules of engagement. We don't learn that.
Yeah. Well, there's life to teach you that. I would say, the fact that like my dad wasn't around and my mom was sick, I'm really good at like anticipating
Mm,
needs.
mm,
Right. So people who I worked under, so like in banking, it was my associate, or, on Google, it was my manager. I was a really good employee
mm-hmm.
because even without you asking me, I know what you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and that's really hard to learn.
Yeah.
And that's hard to learn. And I don't know if I would have learned it had I not grown up the way that I had.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is how you get promoted is you anticipate needs and you fill what they want. If your manager needs something done or wants something done and doesn't have to ask you for it, like, and you make them happy, then you're like, okay, well, you've done your job. So you keep doing your job and hitting those metrics and you should get
Yeah.
promoted. But yeah, oftentimes I mean, it's even better if you can anticipate it. Like that's like before my wish is like granted, you already filled it. It's like it's incredible. So that's a very powerful skill to have. How do you feel like not that you can necessarily teach it, but what would you say if you were to tell someone how to anticipate needs you look for?
I would say when you're junior, um, like earlier on in your career, like it's not about you. Anything you do, I think, when you're early in your career is accretive.
Mm-hmm.
Anything can be a learning
Mm-hmm.
experience, even the really mundane
Mm-hmm.
stuff or onerous stuff. And you can't teach a good attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm careful saying those because I think like also there's this stereotype about Asians, right? We put our head down, we get the work done, we don't complain, we don't speak our truth. So I'm not saying that,
Mm-hmm.
but there is an element of it like, yeah, you're there to make your manager look good,
Yeah.
right? You're there to
Yeah.
learn. Early on in your career, most anything is
Yeah.
learning. And in order for you to raise your hand, be vocal, advocate for
Yeah.
yourself, all those things that we know are necessary to move up,
Mm-hmm.
you need to establish credibility first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And establishing credibility is about doing the hard
Mm-hmm.
work,
Mm-hmm.
about anticipating needs, about getting any task, regardless of how annoying
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
is, done very, very well.
Yeah.
And then you earn the right to raise your
Yeah.
hand, to ask for
Yeah.
more,
Your own credibility.
whether it's a promotion or more money or
Yeah.
whatever it is, that opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prove yourself. I read about the workhorse thing, but and being stuck as a workhorse. I was like, you still have to be a workhorse to prove your value. You can't just jump to
Yeah.
racehorse and if
That's
you
right.
can't run.
That's right.
So it's like, well, walk before you can run, but don't just my point is don't get stuck being the workhorse for the rest of your life.
Yes,
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
If
That's
you're
right.
not being
That's
recognized for
right.
your work, then you got to move along. Like this is not the place for you.
That's right.
Um, but I think you're right. I think the attitude and just not being above certain things because I feel like a lot of us, I don't know, I hear this all the time from chefs, like the older chefs are like, oh, these young chefs don't want to do any work, or even people in business are like, I talked to my friend who was a CFO yesterday, and he said, it's like, oh man, all the people that work for me, they want to leave at 4 o'clock because they're like, I got other stuff to do. It's like, well, when they come around 2 months later or 2 years later, it's like, I want, where's my promotion? And it's like, promotion what? It's like, I've been here 2 years. Like, that doesn't mean you get a promotion. You didn't do the work to get here.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
if you need if you need to get there, you have to prove it first, and that takes work and humility. But it also means getting recognized for the work and making sure you get people see I
Yes.
did this, and not just being letting someone else take credit for it too.
Yes. Agree.
So were
Absolutely.
you always vocal in all your jobs then? Like, how did you draw attention
In
to?
all of, yeah, in all of my jobs, yes, but in different ways. So in banking, I mean, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Like my first year. I mean, like someone asked me to build an LBO. I was like, what do you want me to do? So like what I got
And
really
there's no
good at
Google. You
banking
can just go
was like,
look it up.
yeah, there's like no chat
Yeah.
GPT. I can't um but what I got really good at banking was like finding my
Hmm.
allies. So I was like the mother hen of our bull pen,
Hmm.
right? So there would be some really amazing modeling
Gurus.
people who like came out of the womb
Yeah.
modeling. So I
Financial
would
modeling, not gorgeous
so
people, by the
listen.
way, everyone.
Yeah, yeah, financial modeling. Yeah, no, no,
No,
not
no,
not
no pretty
gorgeous
people in that
people.
office. No.
But I would they would help me because I took care of them in other
Mm,
ways, you
yeah.
know?
Use that social capital. Yeah,
Associates
yeah,
too,
yeah.
right? Like I knew my associate, I knew his Starbucks order backwards and forwards, and every morning I got it for
See,
him,
you were a hustler. You were
you know?
you were bartering with for yeah,
Yeah, with
yeah.
time and
That's
effort,
social
right? And then
capital.
when it came to like
I need something.
an LBO, I'm like, Matt, I don't know how to
Yeah,
do this. Like I really don't know, and he'll sit down and like
yeah,
help me and
yeah.
teach me. So like I was always so that was then. Like I had social capital, but like in a different
Hmm.
way. Um, all the MDs played poker.
Hmm.
So I learned how to play poker.
Mm,
Uh, so like I'd get invited to the Friday night or Friday afternoon games in the MD's
yeah.
office and stuff like
So
that.
did you feel like you had, as a woman, look, I've always wondered, like, why is it that, and you were in Asia and in Hong Kong, Singapore, and Shanghai, and wherever, all the investment banking offices in these places, they don't have Asian MDs. Like, they're all British, Australian, American white guys they bring in.
Yeah. Maybe I hope it's different now. I
It
don't
is
know
different
if
now
it's
because
still the case.
the ones in Hong Kong and China, they just want Chinese people now. So colonialist thing was like, why is there like why are we not running the offices in these places? Because we're capable, obviously. But it was always right. But did you feel like as one of the few women, if not maybe the only woman in some of those rooms, um, you had to be more like one of the guys? Like I have to play poker, or was it
Yeah.
intentional? Like I want to learn because otherwise I'll be
It was
left out.
intentional. It wasn't like, oh my God, no one was like, oh, she doesn't play
Yeah.
poker. It was just, right, for me, that's an in,
So it was strategic. It was
right?
like
Because,
I need to be there. I don't want to be left
yeah, of
out. Yeah.
course. Yeah.
I
Because, like, these are the people who determine your bonus. These are the people who determine which deals
yeah.
you're on, which in my case was like, don't put me on a deal. I don't care,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? But yeah, those are like the power
Yeah.
brokers who can decide your
But
fate. So why wouldn't I want a seat at the table?
I think a lot of people, at least especially Asians, don't want to socialize with their colleagues or with their managers, and just like, I'll let you decide what happens to me. I'll just work hard, and you'll see my work, and you'll promote me. It's like,
Yeah.
no, they don't even know who you are.
No, no. I mean, remember that movie, The
Yeah,
Departed, with Jack Nicholson?
which was based off an
It was
original Hong
a
Kong movie, but yes.
Hong Kong movie, yes, with Andy Lau. And it's like almost not cool anymore to quote him because that movie is so racist. But Jack Nicholson says, like, in life, no one's ever going to give
Mhm,
it to you. You got to go
mhm.
take it. And
Yeah,
it's true.
that's true.
No one's
If
going
you're
to give it to you.
passive, and I mean, part of our culture
Yeah.
is being, passive aggressive about things
You got to figure out a way to like
to get
navigate
it.
and
Yeah,
get in the
yeah.
room.
I mean, I think that's critical for so many people to hear and learn is that, like, if they don't know you exist, why do you think they're going to actually give you anything or promote you, or like they're not going to help you because they don't even know who you are. So after banking, this, I mean, after banking, you go to Google, is that right?
I went to
And you work
Google.
at
Yeah.
Maps.
Yeah, I was real pissed. So
So you're like, I want something else. I don't want
I,
Maps.
I wanted to be on Google Shopping back
Um,
then, it was called.
yeah,
Okay. Like their
yeah,
Amazon, eBay
yeah.
killer. And then when I got there, they're like, "Oh, you're on Maps." I was like,
Did you go through a rotational
"No." I
program
was like,
first, like an APM program or something? Oh, you
"No,
just
I
came
didn't."
straight in.
It was just like straight in. Yeah. And I was like, I have no passion for maps. I like can't read a map. Like it just was not. But they were, it was back
Man, Demi,
then.
you're
No
sharing a
one
lot
had
on here.
Google
I don't know
Maps.
how to use decimal points. I don't know how to read a map.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you guys, I'm never the smartest person in the room. Never.
Got it.
But they were trying to beat MapQuest.
Oh man,
And everyone
we're
used
dating
MapQuest
ourselves
and everyone
now.
started Google
And
Maps.
everyone, there was no
I know,
smartphone,
we're
so we would
old.
print out the MapQuest
There was,
maps
yeah,
onto paper
print
and
out.
go in the
Yeah,
car
that's
with
right.
a
That's
printed
right.
MapQuest.
That's right. That's right. And so my job was sourcing various forms of content to support Google Maps. So that could be satellite imagery deals, digital mapping deals, right? We built Google Transit.
Mm,
So the transit authorities originally, like New York Subway, wouldn't work with us because they had their own
yeah.
thing. So we had a team of contractors in India that would manually plot the stations and manually enter the
Wow.
timetables. So so you could have a mapping and transit experience. So I learned a lot. But like it was a lot of it was not glamorous work. Like we wanted to map the developing world. So we needed paper maps of places like in
Mm,
Africa or Latin America where there's no digital maps. We were creating the
wow.
digital maps based on satellite imagery and these
Yeah.
paper maps. So my job was to go source all
Yeah.
these paper maps. And I remember thinking, like, I graduated from Stanford and I did 2 years of banking. And like
You're not
literally,
above
I'm
this.
like
Yeah, yeah,
sourcing
yeah. You're
maps.
flipping through.
But man, yeah, I sourced the shit out
What
of
were
these
those books?
maps.
We
Like
had those big. I remember
I
having the pads of books.
it
I
wasn't
was
even
like,
enough. You had to go
oh wow.
locally to each town. So then I created a program with like Google's unlimited resources where we basically hired recent
Yeah.
college grads to drive around Latin America
Oh
and
my gosh.
Africa with a
Wow.
GPS and go buy paper maps in each
Are you
town and
serious?
send them back to me. And then I would send them or bring them to India.
What?
That's how we mapped development. That's how, yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's pretty. You have to think about it, Debbie. That's pretty amazing that you did that.
No, it's super cool if you're into
No, no, no.
maps. It's
Not
just
even
like,
into
I
maps.
happen to be more
Not
into
even into
shoes.
maps. Like I know, but not even into maps. Like shoes, people bought already online, but the maps didn't exist. You were literally creating something that did not
Yeah.
exist. And today, I was just talking to Eleanor about this the other day. I was like, man, how do we even get around if we didn't have these Google Maps on our cars or going anywhere? Like, how the heck would you even get to find this restaurant or find this place? Like, especially when we travel.
Yeah.
I'm like walking through Tokyo. I was like, I can't read Japanese and I don't know where I am, but this little dot on this smartphone is taking me
Yeah.
there. But that
It's
those
amazing,
maps, I
right?
mean, you were one of the first to digitize it in these countries that didn't have any before. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
I know.
I
I
mean, now
get that
looking
it's
back, it's
cool
cool,
if you
but
just don't
when you're
have
doing it,
them.
like, oh, this
Yeah,
it's
when
grunt
you're like
work.
buried, my desk was like yeah,
Yeah,
it was grunt
yeah,
work.
yeah.
But at Google, I started becoming quite vocal. So I really wanted to work in Asia, right? I wanted to leverage my language skills. And even when I was at Citigroup, based in Palo Alto, I did the 2 years of banking. They sent me to Asia
Mm,
all the time because I could read and write
mm,
Chinese and I spoke. At Google, I wanted the same thing. And they're like, well, like this role is based in Mountain View. I was like, well, how about this? I'll do all my Mountain View work, whatever you want me to do, maps, whatever. But I also want to go help the Taiwan
Oh,
team and the
yeah.
China team. Back then, Google was still in China. So they let me go and support Taiwan. I helped sign the mapping deal in Taiwan. I got to go to the meetings in China, and like mapping in
Wow.
China is like
Yeah.
very sensitive. As long as I said, if you give me those opportunities, I'll continue to do whatever work you need me to
Again,
do. Right, but for
leveraging,
me, that
like
was
they
really
need me,
important.
so if they want
Yeah,
me, they gotta give me this too. That's an important
yeah,
skill to have too. It's like
yeah.
I gotta get what I want out of this as well. What was there?
Yep.
Why? I mean, you didn't. Your dad lived in Taiwan. What was your emotional connection to Taiwan? Even though your parents were from there, how many times had you gone? Like, why did you choose? Why were you fighting to go back to Taiwan?
I mean, I love
Because you're
Taiwan.
an ABC. I mean, you're like you were
I
born
am an
there.
ABC, but I'm like a wannabe fob.
You can't say that, you know.
Is no, someone told, I'm quoting someone, so I'm not
Oh,
calling
it's
it.
okay.
Someone in college called me that. So I went back a lot to Taiwan when I was a kid growing up. And like growing up here at Nueva or Lick and all the pressure, uh, I was really lonely. My parents were working all the time. I was just by myself,
Mm-hmm.
right? At Lick, Lick was in San Francisco. I lived in Hillsborough. So most of my friends, no one
Yeah,
lived close.
yeah, yeah.
And I was studying all the time or doing extracurricular activities. Like I felt really isolated. I was very stressed out. I was really lonely. And there was one summer or a few summers I went to Taiwan, and just, it was like I just hung out with friends of kids of my parents' friends. And like we would like, I don't know, go downstairs to 7-Eleven. Right. But
Mm-hmm.
imagine from someone who like grew up in Hillsborough or Daly City, like
Mm-hmm.
you can't do that.
Yeah,
You can go out at like 2 a.m.
yeah,
and it's safe.
yeah, yeah,
Like you go out and people look like you.
yeah.
It just felt like my home.
Home. Yeah,
And
yeah.
like in some ways, even now, it feels more like my home than
Mm-hmm.
even my actual home
Mm-hmm.
here in
Mm-hmm.
Hillsborough.
Yeah.
Like whenever I land, even now in Taipei and at Taoyuan, I'm like, oh,
There's like a relief,
like this,
burdens lifted
yeah,
kind of thing.
like
Yeah, yeah,
this
yeah,
makes sense. Like
yeah,
I belong here.
yeah, yeah.
Like this is,
It's my people.
it's
Like,
my people. And every time I leave Taiwan and come back to the States, I go through like a few weeks of like a depressive state, even now
oh,
as an adult,
wow,
where like,
wow.
oh, like I miss the convenience.
The safety.
I miss the food. I miss my parents and they're there most of the time now.
Yeah,
So that's why I was clamoring
to go. Yeah.
always to go back. And I'd always wanted to like really live and work in Asia,
Mm-hmm.
but I never did that. I was always like in a relationship here. Like my boyfriend at the time was in the States or in
Mm-hmm.
Palo Alto. So it was kind of like, okay, well, if I can't move there,
I'll
then I'm
get
trying to
something.
get
I
back
just want to
there
keep
as much
going
as I
back.
can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
Got it. And this was a common theme because when you join Kayak, you end up like starting and
That's right.
becoming the GM of the APAC business. So there's a common thread of I want to go back to Asia. I mean, was it wasn't it hard to that this constant? I guess travel didn't is not to bother you. You have no problems traveling, but living between two worlds, or was it ideal? You're like, I want to be back here and there.
I really liked it. I really liked living in two worlds. Like I liked living when I was at Google and City. I lived in Palo Alto. Like I loved the quiet. The air is great. It's beautiful. Palo Alto is. I mean, it's like
Pristine. Yeah.
yeah. But there's like not that much going on,
That's why I don't live
right?
there. It's like
But
Pleasantville. I'm like,
then
I don't need to be out there.
I could get my fix or whatever
Of the
going
city,
out
the
or
big
whatever.
city they're going out to.
Yeah, when I went to
Oh,
Asia.
yeah.
So I got to like I got to experience both, and I really liked that.
And what cities were you spending most of your time in at when you were in Asia?
Well, when I was at Google, I think they said I was able to go to Taiwan for like 2 months, and then and I was only at Google for 2 years. I was able to go to Beijing. I think I went for like also 2 months. I lived there for 2 months,
Mm-hmm.
and then when I was at Kayak, I was I started the Asia Pacific region from my couch in the marina in San Francisco.
Huh?
And I was traveling in market almost every week. So I spent a lot of time in Hong Kong. Uh, we spent a lot of time in Japan.
Mm.
I spent Korea, Australia. I went a lot.
Yeah.
China, I also went to try to get the airline partnerships.
Where's China?
Oh, but like even for the US site, right? You want a direct
Oh,
connection
people who
with
want.
Air China
Yeah,
or China Eastern Air or whatever. And so
yeah.
like that was part of my responsibility. Yeah, so
Any
I went I
Singapore or
was
Thailand or anything like that?
Singapore. Oh, so I went to Singapore a lot. Thailand I didn't go to as much, but I went a few times.
Yeah.
But Singapore, Sydney, Hong Kong, and we ended up I never went because I went so much
Yeah.
when I was at Google.
Okay. That's true.
So I
That's really far
never, I
too.
didn't, it's really, really far. Lots of traffic on those sites for us, but like the
Yeah.
monetization is really low.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And so it almost felt like if I mean, I imagine how living that life between countries that when you go to Asia, like when you go to these cities, it's like you had your spots. Like it felt like you're like, oh, I gotta get when I get back to Beijing, I gotta go hit this place up and hit this place
Yep.
up. But you kind of had, so it was kind of like you had many second homes in all these different places then.
Yes. It was awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, it was exhausting,
yeah,
but like I was young.
yeah. You could do it.
So yeah.
Did it feel different working with like people always wonder like, oh, was it life easier in Asia? Do you feel like you like working with people that are other people that are most like all Asian? Like, are the interactions different? Like, how do you are you treated different? Even as a woman, like how what was it like?
Yeah, it
Japan's
depends on
obviously
which
probably
country.
different. Yes.
It depends what country. I remember Amy and so at this point, Amy and I were already working together. She was my first hire in Asia. She lived in Hong Kong. We had a business trip to China to go visit one of the Chinese airlines. I mean, Amy's Chinese is really, really
Mm,
good. And I remember we went to this one airline's headquarters and we were trying to negotiate a rate for KAYAK, right? So any ticket that KAYAK sells on behalf of your airline,
mm,
we get a certain percentage commission cut. And I remember like they made us leave the room so they could like
talk.
discuss
Yeah,
internally.
that's normal.
It was like very old school China, like people were smoking in I mean, like, um, and then like 30 minutes later, they summoned us back into the room and said in Chinese, like, you guys, you don't understand how things work in China, because you're from America.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. In that moment, I felt like, wow, like the fact that we're both fluent is not necessarily
True.
helping our case.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
In other ways, like, was it easier? Yeah, I think so. Like, I think it helped, like, partners in Hong Kong, China, Singapore, Taiwan. Um, it helped customers or partners to be more comfortable with an American brand
Hmm.
because, like, it was, like a familiar face
Hmm.
or someone who looked like them
Hmm.
who was negotiating on behalf of
Hmm.
an American brand. Yeah, I think I had an easier time doing that in APAC than I would if if Europe were my region, for example.
Got it. Yeah. And so you were the promotion to C-suite for first role was chief commercial officer at Kayak
Yeah, so I was running Asia and then they promoted me to come to North America, which is the bulk of Kayak's business, certainly at that time
in Boston.
in Boston.
So
And
you
then I
moved to
had to
Boston.
leave the Bay Area
Yeah.
and move to the East Coast,
Is that where you met
which
Dave?
I was not
When you were in
happy about.
Boston? No,
Huh?
that's not where you met Dave, right? In Boston.
No, we met in San Francisco. We
Okay.
moved together.
Because is he
Yeah.
from?
He's from Buffalo,
Okay,
but his mom lives in New Hampshire.
that's where the
And
kid. Got it. Got it.
yeah, so like he has a lot of family in New England.
Got it.
Yeah, so they gave me North America, and then shortly after they promoted me to be the chief commercial officer. So basically all revenue generating activities
Yeah.
came through me at KAYAK.
And were you? Is this something you shot? Was a goal that you had to get to the C-suite? Like, were you like aiming for that? And you're
Yeah.
figuring out what do I need to do to get there? And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
tell me how did you navigate that, or how did you even in your mind get to the point? It's like, I'm gunning for this job, and this is what I need to do to get there. And then how do you strategize that?
I mean, I think from the beginning, I remember in college, like it was like some graduation dinner with my boyfriend at the time. And I remember saying, and this is like, like I didn't even have an internship yet. But I was like, they were like, well, Debbie, what do you think you want to do in the future? Like, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I remember saying, I want to be the CEO of Gap one day. I'm like, whoa, like that's a,
Bold.
pretty
Yeah.
ballsy and, you know, like I don't think you're qualified,
Yeah.
um, thing to say. And it was like,
Well, yeah, you're
like,
not qualified when you're 22.
uh,
So it's like, what are you supposed to say?
yeah. But yeah, I've always known I wanted to be in the C-suite.
Hmm.
And so, yes, of course, the opportunity to become the chief revenue or chief commercial officer at KAYAK. And then I stayed and did that for 3 years.
Hmm.
And the next step was like to become a CEO of somewhere.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I've always known
Yeah.
that that is what I want.
Yeah.
Like that's always been very clear. And it's because for me, and this sounds worse than it is, like I work towards the accumulation of wealth and the accumulation of power
Hmm.
because to me that means freedom.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. If that's the ultimate goal. There's nothing wrong with that. But
Yeah.
how did
I don't like people telling me what
did
to
you?
do.
Yeah. I know that for sure. I mean, but you knew that you wanted to get there. But how do you, like we talked about this, we didn't know the rules of engagement. How would you even know the steps to get there? Like how do you know how to get to what steps to take all to get all the way up there?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Like you figure it out as you go along. I was very lucky in that I found a company like KAYAK that was uniquely positioned to take advantage and leverage my strengths. Like I felt like I could very much be myself at KAYAK.
Mm,
And the
completely
thing that KAYAK is
irreverent.
very clear.
Like yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Right, but it's very clear, KAYAK. Your revenue needed to be strong. Like you need to be data oriented, right? You need to get along with the engineers because it's an engineering driven culture.
Hmm.
And there needs to be like impact and results to what you're doing.
Hmm.
And that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
Right? You practice what you
yeah,
preach. And like I knew that. And yeah, and like again, I happen to be wired that
yeah.
way. So it works really, really well. And like it was a weird time at KAYAK because, right, like I started there as an intern in business school. And then when I came up, as I kept rising up, a lot of the people who had trained me and taught me the business ended up like reporting to me,
Yeah.
which is
Weird.
always,
Yeah.
weird and awkward. But yeah, like I knew like that place was very easy for me to navigate because it just happened to like suit my
Hmm.
personality. So I got really, really lucky.
I mean, I don't think it's all luck, obviously, but yes, you put yourself in the position to get to where you wanted to be. But I mean, when it was time for deciding like to be a CEO of somewhere, was it something you said either make me a CEO or I'm out of here? Oh, it was.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, you think someone's just gonna like,
I don't know. They say,
oh,
hey,
here's a seat.
well, if there's an open position, they're like, here. So how'd you lobby for that, or how did that work?
I mean, I had when Booking Holdings bought OpenTable, which was like a year and a half after they bought KAYAK. I remember thinking like, oh, it'd be so cool to be the CEO of that company one day. I was a director at that time at
Oh,
KAYAK,
wow.
so I was very, very
Yeah.
junior. So I'd always like
Sure.
had my sights
Yeah.
set on it
Yeah.
because it's like a really cool
Yeah.
company, like
About
restaurants.
food.
It's a fun space.
Meta.
It's based in San Francisco in the Bay Area. Right, there's a lot of stuff. It was the company I visited when I was in business
Mm,
school. Like there was like a lot of
yeah.
ties. But yeah, there's definitely maneuvering in how, I mean, people never talk about how you get the role,
Yeah.
right? You always think it's like, oh, someone
They asked you.
very
Yeah.
nicely offered it
Yeah.
to you. I had to go get another role. I had to go get another CEO role.
What?
I felt like I had to go get another offer. I got another, someone else offered me a CEO role.
That's how it worked?
And then I
But
came back and I was like, hey, I have this offer to be the CEO of this company. and this thing that you've been, kind of dangling in front of me,
Yeah.
right? Like, but I'm not quite ready
Yeah.
yet.
You're gonna
No,
lose
like
me if you don't
I'm
take.
tired of
Yeah.
I'm tired of waiting because they think I'm ready.
So basically, it's
Um,
like if you're engaged for a
yeah,
long time, or like you've been dating for like 10 years, and you're like, hey, either put a ring on it, or I got an offer.
yeah,
I got someone else asking who was interested, so either take it or leave it.
yeah. And oftentimes that's how these
Yeah.
things work,
And even for a
right?
promotion,
It's
yeah,
just
or
like,
salary like
yeah,
adjustment, you need to
yeah,
leave and then come
yeah.
back. Yeah.
That's right.
I've
That's
heard
right.
that for like the Gap and other places when my sister was working. There's like, oh, you have to go somewhere, and then if you come back, they'll give you a raise, but you're not going to get it from staying inside.
Yeah,
I was like, what?
yeah,
So basically, I have to lose
yeah.
you. But that's a risky rule. You don't have to name which company. I'm going to ask you later who that other job was for. But I don't think
And I didn't like go get the other
it came to
job
you.
thinking
Oh
like,
yeah,
oh, I'm gonna go come lever. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They came, in
yeah,
fact,
the
the
recruiting
recruiter
headhunters. Yeah,
came, and I was like, okay, like, wow, like they think I'm qualified and ready.
yeah. Did you not think you were?
So
I guess it's
no,
hard to know when you actually are.
yeah,
Although some
and
some
like,
dudes will think they're ready from day one. So,
yeah, no, but
but you've never.
I think the folks who were making the decision on who, like, when the open table role would open up, or if they were going to offer it to me, like, I think more time for me to prepare
Yeah,
and is better than
yeah.
less. I thought I was ready 2 years before I
Actually,
actually
yeah,
got it. And in hindsight, I was not
yeah,
ready. Like it would, but at some point, for anyone, I think they might not be
yeah,
ready, right? Until you're like in
yeah.
it.
Did you always have that confidence that you would? I mean, because we second guess ourselves a lot, and then I think a lot of Asians. I mean, one of the things I tell my founders when I talk to them is like, when they do a pitch deck, it's like, why are you underselling yourself in this deck? You gave the most conservative projections possible because you don't want to fail and miss, because we were raised in that culture. But nobody wants to invest in a company that's conservative. Like, this is the best you're gonna do. It's like,
Hmm.
this is my max, like, that I can potentially get without getting in trouble. But like, you think the next guy is not pitching that he's going to do 10x this? Like, who wants to see a chart
Right.
that looks like this? But I mean, I think we could play ourselves down, and we don't have the confidence to believe that we deserve it. I mean, how did you get to that point?
I don't know if I ever thought I deserved it. I don't know. I kind of feel like deserve is irrelevant.
Mm,
I
worthy?
I just knew that I
You
just
wanted
knew
it.
that I wanted it. And so, even if I didn't deserve it,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted.
Okay. So it's not like you were entitled to the
And in
job.
terms of
Yeah.
the yeah, and in terms of the confidence piece, um, I don't know. I kind of feel like, when people go to college, they were like really amazing colleges. They're like, oh my God, like I was like hot shit in
Yeah.
high school, and then I got to this place and realized,
I'm not that special.
like, I've known what my limitations are since like seventh
Yeah.
grade. Like I'm very self-aware. I
Yeah.
know like what I'm
Yeah.
good at. I know what I'm not. So it doesn't bother me. In fact, I
Yeah.
like it when the people in the room are
Yeah.
smarter than I am, right? So I'd say like where I happen, to, right, I got like ability to read the room, but ability to also have really strong talent and really smart
Mm-hmm.
people
Yeah.
follow me.
Yeah. And and with that, you brought three Asian American, oh no, two of your Asian American colleagues with you, two Asian American women with you to Open Table to join the C ranks. And you've told me that you hear the jokes around. There's like, oh, I guess you got to be an Asian woman to be in the C-suite here. Um, what's that been like? Because you mean you wanted the best people for the job, but they just happen to be Asian American women.
Yeah, that was really rough when it happened. And those was years ago. I think at this point, probably 3 years ago. And like it wasn't necessarily I didn't take it personally, like, oh wow, like they don't think I'm qualified, or because like again, that's my job, right? Like my job is to take the fire and take the heat and people complaining, and like that's part of my role. That's
Yeah.
okay. You can throw darts. It's part of, but my heart broke for Amy and Susan because it made them feel less
Yeah.
than, right? And like, not to mention, these two women are like incredibly
Mm-hmm.
credentialed. Any
Mm-hmm.
company would be lucky to
Mm-hmm.
have them in their C-suite. but the fact that they felt rare that people thought they weren't like qualified and they only
Just
got
so much.
their roles because they were
Yeah.
Asian women was just very
Yeah.
upsetting and very heartbreaking. And we talk about it all the time, like, oh, like, yeah, there were my CTO, I believe, is Indian American. My chief product officer, I believe, is also Indian American. So we have a very East Asian and South Asian heavy
Mm-hmm.
exec team. It was not by design. Like I didn't like start this being like, oh, I'm gonna
Yeah.
fill the team with
It,
people who
yeah.
look like me. That just happens to be
Yeah.
my network. And then, for the other roles, we hired the most qualified
Mm-hmm.
candidates, right? And we put them through the ringer and they happen to be Indian
Mm-hmm.
American. I'm not going to
Yeah.
apologize for that because, if I looked
No
differently,
one would
if I
ask a
was a
question.
different gender, I'm not sure.
Yeah. No
Yeah,
one would question
exactly.
it. And no one would, those, and then Amy and Susan would not be doubted and wouldn't question themselves either. They'd be like, oh, yeah, I got the job on my own. Like they never
Yeah.
questioned it or doubted it. So it's, it's interesting because like you have this extra burden or weight of these things to think about that other CEOs, if they're white male CEOs, they don't have to think about any of this stuff. Like the extra mind share, like we talk about the mental load that moms have, but it's also like as a
Mm.
person of color, a woman who is a minority leading, you have extra like burden of that kind of mental load for dealing with this kind of stuff where they're questioning you or doubting you for reasons that others would not even no they wouldn't blink at.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. And that's okay, because I always, the numbers speak
yeah,
for themselves,
the metric, yeah,
right? So we
yeah,
show them.
yeah. Well, speaking of the numbers, when you took this job you had another option. I didn't know you had another option that you could have gone to, but you took this job during for restaurant tech business in the pandemic when restaurants were shutting down. I mean, I would feel like this is like a shit sandwich job. Like, I don't want this thing. He's like, hey, would you like to be CEO? I was like, no, I don't. Not for a restaurant thing when the whole industry is collapsing right now. Is that,
Yeah, people always ask me that, like, why was I willing to take? I was like, so for me, it wasn't a
yeah,
question at all. I
it was
didn't
a
thought
dream
it
job. And
wasn't.
you're like, I don't care what the pandemic's doing. Because you didn't care about
Yeah,
SARS. Why do you care about COVID?
yeah, exactly. And like it's not gonna last
Yeah,
forever,
yeah.
COVID. But it was a very tough time to take the reins just because, we had waived our fees.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
No revenue. Yeah.
Restaurants were
No
closed.
one's making any money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no revenue.
Your customers were all closing left and right.
You know,
Like you're losing. Like
yeah,
churn was
yeah,
not because didn't like the
it was,
software. They were just shutting
yeah,
down.
it was
Yeah.
harrowing. Like what was exactly. But it was, in some ways, it was like a blessing in disguise because it gave me time to
Mm.
learn the
Yeah.
business and
Well,
learn the
things came back,
industry.
and
Yeah,
you could earn the trust of like all the business owners and new folks who were taking over
that's right.
leases and starting new restaurants. I mean, it's funny that's full circle that your dad started a travel business. You ended up in travel business. I'm sure you guys have talked about this before. I don't know if it's coincidence, but like, what are the chances of you full circle going back to Taiwan, working for a travel business, and now still in hospitality? But it's like, have you talked to your dad about that? About like
Yeah,
it's in the blood.
yeah. We've talked about that. It's yeah. I mean, it's ironic. Um, and I guess it is in the blood. Or no, I loved being in the travel. Like when I was growing up and watching them work. A part of their business was also they would bring Taiwanese high school and middle school students for
Mm-hmm.
the summers to
Mm-hmm.
learn English. That was like one of some of the
Yeah.
programming they ran. So they'd like come to one of the schools is Tufts University, do a summer program, right? Or like stay at a host family. And I just remember thinking, like I'd be at the airport doing like the
Mm-hmm.
pickups with my mom, like giving them meal
Yeah.
vouchers and stuff. And like travel is a way to
Yep.
open your mind and to like experience new things and bring us
Yeah.
closer together. And I've always found that to be incredibly
Yeah.
inspiring. That's why, for kayak too, like I loved that. And like at OpenTable, the opportunity oftentimes to experience a new
Through food.
culture
Yep.
is through food.
Yep.
Yeah, and so like I also find that to be very inspiring. Like that, like my job has something to do with that. I think is really
I
cool.
mean, if you think about the threads of Google Maps and Kayak and restaurants, like it's kind of all these ways that you expand like cultural experiences and open your mind to new 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 worlds, new foods, like finding new direct like
Mm,
it's with like without maps, food and the travels, like you can't really experience, open your mind, experience new things. I mean, it's a pretty sweet career you've had.
it's
For
true.
someone not knowing decimals, that's pretty good.
I know. I know. That's what I'm saying. I really busted it
No,
on
no.
my way
Well,
here.
you got all the skills to get there. And I mean, I would love to hear like one last kind of thing is that you've gotten on boards, but you're on boards now, and you've been on boards, and you are in the CEO position at a well-known company. Like, what would your advice be to the folks who are still in that director? Like, what would you tell yourself when you were, in that director level, wondering if you could ever get to this point? Because there are many people listening that are in that spot right now. Like, what would you tell them in corporate America, how to navigate that to get into those rooms, like to be in the room where it happens?
Well, raise your hand and, for that new project, new role, promotion, but also like know who you're
Mm.
asking. So if it's your manager who has the power to decide, figure out what makes him or
Uh,
her tick. Right. So in my case, when I was a senior director or I was a director and I wanted the GM of APAC at KAYAK. I went to the CEO of KAYAK, knowing him, being like, hey, give me a shot. You can reserve the right to hire above me. I won't get offended if I mess up. But like, this is what I think I can deliver in terms of revenue. Like I
mhm.
spoke his
You
language,
knew what he
the
needed.
things that
Yeah,
I knew he would care about. Yeah. And so don't be afraid to
hmm,
try. And the worst thing that can happen is
yeah.
it's a no, right? But I don't know. I always feel like I, you know, I love working towards a slow, no, like a slow yes versus a
Mm,
fast
I
no.
like that.
But you won't know
Yeah,
until you try.
I mean, you won't get a yes or no if you don't even ask. So there's no fear in
That's right.
that. Um, no, I think that's awesome advice. I feel like too many people aren't even putting themselves out there to try. Um, do you feel like the one thing is I've always really been impressed about you is like I don't like it's not a DGAF attitude, but it's kind of like this irreverent like no one is better than you. Like, do you feel like there's like an attitude you're just like, you don't take people. I mean, you take people seriously in the right situations, and maybe it's because we're just socially friends. I've never worked with you, but I feel like that comes across that no one like you don't feel like or you don't act like you're less than anyone else in the room.
No, I feel like everyone's
But
better than me. And
but
that's
that never comes
cool.
across.
No, but that's, like, listen, I'm incredibly privileged and blessed and very lucky. Yes, I
Yeah.
worked my ass off, but a lot of it is luck. I found the right company. I found the right culture. Yes, I've worked really hard. Um, but like I try not to take
Hmm.
myself or, others like
Mm-hmm.
super, super seriously or
Mm-hmm.
rules. I don't know. At the end of the day,
Yeah,
we're all
exactly.
just people, you know? Like even the people that
Yep.
you put on that pedestal who have done incredibly things, like they eat, they shit, like
Yep.
everyone is people,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Rules are made by people, like and so I don't know. That is very much my
Yeah.
kind of life
Yeah.
philosophy
Yeah.
and work
Yeah.
philosophy is like I'm not that I'm like laissez-faire, but yeah, like at some point, like let's not. I try not to take
Mm-hmm.
myself too seriously, uh, because I also feel like it's a way to also
Mm-hmm.
disarm people when they're
Yeah.
dealing with me.
Yeah. I mean, that is a superpower. I
Yeah.
think that is one of your biggest superpowers. And I think, it's funny you bring up all people are people. Like when we were at the Gold Gala and we're, seeing all these celebrities and stuff, you can go up and talk to them too. I mean, they're just literally people. You see them on TV, but they're just people. Whenever I meet, you know,
Mm.
athletes or whatever, I mean, like you said, they eat, they do the same stuff. They got to worry about the same, getting sick. They got to take care of their kids. They got to pick them up and drop them off for school. I mean, people are people, but I think too often, especially as Asians, there's the filial piety and the reverence thing of, oh, I don't deserve to be like in your presence kind of thing, or you're better than me. And
Mm,
I mean, that kind of hierarchy often hurts us more than it helps us, because you're always deferring to someone else who's more senior than us, and you can't call them out on being wrong, or you can't speak up because you're like, well, they are my manager, so I can't say them. Like, no, they'll probably respect you more if you do say
mm,
something than if you don't say anything. And if they do
right.
if they're unhappy that you call them out on it, that's probably not the place for you anyway. So I think too
Yeah.
many people are. I talked with a friend, but Asians are very loyal, and so if they're unhappy with a situation, they suck it up. Because when we were kids, we were sucked up a lot. We were taught to suck it up, but sometimes that blind loyalty is not to your favor, and it's like, hey, you have to know when to leave and walk away from something.
Yeah, you have to be willing to walk away. I
Yes,
don't think I
exactly. If
do
you weren't
see
willing to
enough
walk away,
examples that we're
well, you
not
had something
willing
to
to
walk
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 away.
to, which was helpful. But yes,
Yes, yeah, but like those are
yes,
opportunities created. So you
that's
have
right.
power
That's
and
right.
control
You have
over
to
that.
make those opportunities. Well,
That's right.
Debbie, thank you so much. I mean, I've learned a lot about you that I didn't know, but I've also, like, I mean, I think, yeah, I
Really?
know
After all
there's a
these
few things
years,
that I
I
did
did
not
not know
realize. I didn't actually know you went to Nueva for middle school, so that's interesting too. Yeah, but I think I appreciate all the tidbits to folks who aspire, who are like I said, are kind of in those manager, director positions who aspire to more, like how do they get there? We need to give out practical advice. Like I said before in the beginning, we don't ask for mentorship. We don't get mentorship. There are people that look like us in a lot of positions above us. So to hear from you how to get there, and also just how to behave around people and be in those rooms where you have to come sometimes force yourself into. If you play poker or not, you got to get there. But also, it's like these people playing poker are just like you. They're just regular people, um, and so you have to kind of,
that.
be in those positions and places, but create your opportunities. That's how you do it. And I think you've obviously created lots of great opportunities for yourself. And I think you'll create more for others just as you open the door for Asians and other women and other people at your organizations. I think I think you'll show others how to do that and when they get there too. But thank you for taking the time to shed your wisdom. We're not that old, I know, but I guess we still have some stuff to share. Not done yet, but thank you so much, Debbie. And I guess hopefully I'll see you before. I mean, we see each other in Taiwan. We'll see each other here before then. But
Yeah, I'll see you. I'll definitely see you. And Dave, thank you for having me on and everything you've done for our community. I think it's truly remarkable, and I'm sure I don't speak for just myself and thanking you for speaking up, speaking out, you know, making sure we're heard.
thanks,
So
Debbie.
thank you for that.
All right. Thanks for listening to this episode of Hyphen Nation. Please subscribe to my Substack at www.davelou.com and follow us on Instagram at the Hyphen Nation and LinkedIn at Hyphen Nation.